Into the Boulevard of Broke Dreams. Now, some of you may call it a pawn shop, but I call it the Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Have you ever been to a pawn shop? Have you ever read it? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a confessional booth. Have you ever noticed that? You walk in and you're with a complete stranger, and you have to tell them that basically you get messed up. I don't know if you've ever gone to a pawn shop as desperate as I have gone before. Now, if you don't know, they basically take all of your items and they'll purchase them from them, or they'll give you what's known as a pawn loan, because obviously you're in a bad spot to begin with. What you need is more debt. Now, I walked into a pawn shop with 3 rings. They love jewelry, by the way, if you're going. Yeah, they have no need for your clothes. They love jewelry, though. I walked in with 3 rings. The first ring was my high school ring. Now, I graduated in 1993. It was a really nice ring. It had the school mascot on one side and my name. I was so proud of it. And it was gold, and I kind of needed rent. So I thought, well, I'll take the ring in. That's not a problem. It was kind of hard at first because you had the memories attached to it. I mean, you're handing somebody something of yourself. You know, yeah, it's gold and everything, but you really just kind of giving it. The second ring I brought in was actually my wedding band from my first marriage. Yeah, it was just gathering dust. We had separated for 2 years. I mean, I didn't actually sell the ring off. I figured that would have been kind of rude. But yeah, I had stopped wearing it for quite some time. I was done. And so that kind of went in. And that was kind of hard. But it's one of those good hards. You know, where you're like, okay, well, I'll just, move it on. Now, the third ring was a little tough. It was my father's wedding band. And he had passed away quite some time ago. And I had held on to it for sentimental reasons. I never felt right wearing it. It was just something I had held on to. But I got to a point in my life where I had nothing. And if you've ever been to a point where you have nothing, you start to reevaluate your priorities. Because things are nice, food is better. Clothes are nice, food is better. A lot of things are nice, but when you have a rumbly and the tumbly, it's better. So, now the third ring really racked me up, because I was like, well, that's kind of a memento. But it was on loan. I didn't sell them outright. I had rented, basically it was a collateral loan, if you will. So these 3 rings went into the possession of the pawn shop, and I went home with my grocery money. A couple weeks later, as luck would have it, the jewelry store burned down. Now, I don't know if you know anything about gold, but gold is a very soft metal. It has a very low melting point. In fact, if you have a pure gold coin, you can bite it and you will leave teeth marks because it's that soft. Well, can you imagine what it takes to burn a building and what it would do to gold? Now, of course, they have insurance and whatnot, but the memories were gone. Now, it's a very tough part, because not only have you gone in and you've had this confession, if you will, where you have to present yourself and face the mirror of your bad decisions or good decisions went wrong, but now I can't even buy back those memories. And it really devastated me. It really hurt. Because here are these rings that I've had. They represented pieces of my life. And now they're gone. About 2 years ago, I was just in a really weird place where I didn't quite know where to put my feet, where to put one foot in front of the other. And I remember walking into the library, because they have free books. It's amazing. It's like a Barnes & Noble, but you don't exchange money. Okay, you're getting it. It's just a library. What's that? I was walking around. I'm like, I need something. You ever walk around? You walk into a room and you're like, I need something. My hands need something. The devil's playthings. They need something. Well, I walked over to the philosophy section, and I saw a couple books in there, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll get to one of those philosophers. But then it hit me. I pulled out my phone and I pulled out a note that I had written 2 years prior. Let's scale back for a moment. I've done comedy now for quite a few years, and I love stand-up comedy. The very first lesson in comedy is that your humor starts way before you get on the stage. The best thing you can do in any environment, especially Toastmasters, is walk around and shake in as many hands as you can. Meet people, say hello, introduce yourself. The reason for that is because if people like you, they want to hear you. If they like you, they will laugh with you. They will cry with you. You want to build that bond. You want to build that synergy, if you will. So walk around and talk to as many people as you can. Well, I was doing a stand-up in a lounge of a hotel, a little airport lounge, miles from the airport, nobody knew where it was. And I remember talking to these two guys, and as I was like, oh wait, you're about to have some comedy, it'd be great. The guy's like, okay, no problem. I was like, so what are y'all in town for? He's like, beasties. Well, if I've learned anything in life, you never ask someone with a deep Eastern European accent what business means. You just don't want to know legally. So 6 shots of Jaeger later, we were sitting there talking in Russian for like most of the night. I don't know any Russian, but I do a neat accent. You'd be amazed what alcohol can do. But we're sitting there and we're like, oh, you're a good guy. He's like, no, you are a good guy. It's wonderful fun. But before I left the bar, the guy's like, hey, listen, buddy, listen. You need to read a book. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I was like, okay, no problem, comrade. So there I was, fast forward to the library, looking around, trying to find my book. And there it was on the shelf. It was A New Earth. It was actually his follow-up book by Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle is a very small German philosopher. He's a self-help guru. And I was reading through his book, and he's got some pretty grandiose ideas about religion, and he borrows from Jesus, and he borrows from Buddha, and really his world is his classroom, if you will. And I was reading through the book, and it got to a story that he told about a woman who had her grandmother's ring. And she had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So she was on a hospital bed that was inside of her house. It was hospice at the last stages. She couldn't find that ring. Now at first she thought that maybe her maid or her day nurse may have stolen it, or maybe one of her kids maybe got a little greedy for the inheritance. They had swiped the ring. So he looked at her and he said, look, is it the ring or is it the memory? I don't know how many times you've read a book and began crying. I did at that point, because it hit me right there. It's not the ring. Things come into our lives, things go out. But it's the memory. It's what they've added to our lives. Think about the people that have come into your life. They're not yours forever. They're yours for a short time. And although they may leave your life, either to sail to points unknown on a cruise that costs $10,000, or they may move off to a foreign country, or they may take their last breath. But it's not the ring. It's the person. It's the riches they brought into your life. So the next time you're at the confessional booth, or the Boulevard of Broke Dreams, or at the pawn shop, remember, things come and go. Focus on the people. Thank you.